Hi, creative friends. This is Soraya, and thank you so much for being here. So, I was asked how I prep the pages of my children's cardboard books that I turn into art journals, and I talked about it briefly in a previous video, but I'm just going to explain a little more in detail what exactly I do. But first, I just wanted to show you these are all children's cardboard books over here that I have or am in the process of converting into my art journals. So, I'm just going to kind of briefly show you. Oh, excuse me. I just got to move that off here. So this one over here, I did a flip through of it, and this was a children's cardboard book, and I turned it into an art journal, and it was actually published in Somerset Art Journaling magazine, and I did a video on that. But it did begin as, a book much like this one over here. Now, this book I did a flip through of as well, and this is in various stages of completion, also a children's cardboard book. And this one over here, which I also did a flip through of, this is probably about maybe 20% done. And this is probably 3 to 4 layers in, I want to say. And I just want to show you that when I do build up my layers, I still let the previous layers show through. So this is maybe a first layer of dictionary pages, and I hope that I can keep this through to completion. And that's how I really give depth and interest, and it's a part of how I tell my stories by allowing previous layers to show through. So I'm just going to move this off to the side here. And this over here is another children's cardboard book that's probably, I want to say, 2 to 3 layers in. And I kind of did an impromptu flip through of it. I didn't mean to, but I was showing it and then I just flipped through it. Now, this over here is probably my first layer. And I just wanted to show you what I did. So, okay, so over here I put some paints, but over here, this is just collage. So this is just a first layer. And I'm just gonna do a flip through of this just really quickly, just to show you, this is what it looks like when I'm just one layer in. And what I love to use for collage is I have a dictionary that I purchased many years ago for a steal at a thrift store. And I love the pages because not only does it have text, which gives so much interest and texture and context to the page, but it also, the papers are non-glossy, and the dictionary that I have is actually very good, high quality paper. And I mean, you guys, I purchased this for maybe $1, and it's just collage that I can use for such a long time. And then what I did is I had some extra cards from scrapbooking, and they're not like scrapbooking paper, they're a much heavier cardstock. And I just had some, lying around that I didn't use for a project. It was just extra cards. So I love just tearing them up and putting them on my page. Now, this over here is my own art, and I just wanted to show you that these are pieces from an art journal that I had that, it was many, many years ago, and I don't even remember what happened to the art journal. I think what happened is the pages just stuck together in a way that I couldn't salvage it. And this is a composition notebook, just a cheap, dollar composition notebook. And I absolutely love using this stuff for my collage because, first of all, it's already got my visual language on it. It's got my handwriting on it, and it just gives so much texture and interest. And it's just amazing. Like, look at all these beautiful pieces of collage that I am not going to waste. So I recommend that you save all of your little pieces that, say you're taking a class or you're doing an art prompt, or just say you have a journal that just didn't work out for whatever reason. And for me, in order for a journal not to work out, and for me to totally scrap it, it's not because I didn't like what happened on the page, because I can just cover that up, but it's probably because the pages got stuck together so badly that I really couldn't salvage it. So I just saved all these pieces, and this is my collage over here. And just look how beautiful it is. It adds so much visual interest to the page. I absolutely see that's mine over there as well. And I just absolutely love doing that. So anyways, I'm going to show you this book over here as well. And this is also a children's cardboard book. And this is my first layer. So I have not added any paint to it. Now this I did. I added some transparent inks to it. But when I first started doing these children's cardboard books, it was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And I looked at it as a very tedious process, because when you apply your Mod Podge or whatever kind of glue you're applying to the cardboard pages, and then you lay your collage down, you cannot now turn the page and work on this spread, because what's going to happen is your pages are going to stick together, which is what happened in this journal, I'm thinking. I don't remember. And now what's going to happen is when you go to pull it apart, it's going to turn into a huge mess. That is what has happened to me. So you have to apply your collage and allow it to completely dry. Now, if the pages are, say, 95% dry and it's not like fully dry, what's going to happen is you're going to get, let me see if I can show you here, because this has happened to me. So I'm going to bring this up closer to the camera, and I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up, but see over here, what happened is that the page was mostly dry. And so I, applied my collage, I came back to it, and I thought, oh, it's completely dry. And then I flipped the page and I worked on here, but it wasn't 100% dry. So the pages close to the spine, they kind of stuck together. But actually, I really love that. And I'm going to use that to my advantage, because see, that's what has happened over here. And you can get really cool textures with it, as long as it's not like the whole page is completely stuck together, because that is going to turn into a big mess. And then what's going to happen is when you pull it apart, all the collage is going to come off of the page. And then I just check out the book. That has happened to me. But now what I do is I look at it as a beautiful process, because like I said in the beginning, when I first started making um, using children's cardboard books and turning them into art journals, I looked at it as a very tedious process, and I was trying to hurry the process along. And so I would end up with stuck pages because I was really impatient. But now what I do is I actually love applying my collage onto the page, because sometimes I don't want to paint. Sometimes I don't want to create. I don't want to draw. I just want to come and sit down, and, if I have a half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever it is, I put on a podcast or I listen to Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And it's just a very relaxing, meditative process. It's like playing. And I just, sit down and I have my cup of tea and I apply all my collage. And now I don't try to rush the process. And another thing that I do is, say I have these two books here. So if you have two or three or four or however many books you have, you can work on them at the same time. And that cuts down on the time as well, because you can lay out, say I can lay out, two of these books. I can apply my collage here and then push it off to the side and let it dry. And then I can come over here and apply my collage over here. And then, if I have like more books, I can work on those as well. And it just cuts down on the time that it takes to make one book. So that's another way you can do it as well. But what I'm going to do now, oh, and I do have these really huge pins over here, and I'm not sure where I purchased them from, but sometimes what you can do is just say I apply my collage over here and it's mostly dry, so maybe like 70% dry. I can clip that on there and I can turn the page over and then work on this spread because there's going to be some space apart, you know, like this pin is going to give these two pages a little bit of space. Now, I'm not sure where I purchased this from. I think it was like a big box craft store, like Michael's or something like that. But that's another thing you can do. But honestly, just enjoy the process. And it can be such a freeing and playful process to figure out, like, you know, where do the collage pieces, where do you want to put the collage pieces? And you don't have to use dictionary pages or scrapbooking paper. I mean, you can use whatever you have. You can use, like, say, if you have some of your own art, like you're cleaning out your brush and you use pieces of paper to do that, you know, you can most certainly use those pieces of paper, or you can even use, say, if you have a cheap composition notebook and you write, you know, poetry or, you know, journaling or whatever, you can use your own handwriting. And, you know, it's just a great way to add interest and build up the layers in your art journal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start showing you how I build up my paper and my pages. Now, I did add some inks over there, and this is just ink and a little bit of cashew chalk paint. So, like, see, all that got pulled up, and I absolutely love that texture. And I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I'm just going to drip some of this Liquitex Burnt Sienna ink, and you can use whatever you have. Like, you know, this is just what I like to use, and I'm really watering it down here. And this is going to kind of give it an aged look. And now I'm going to get some of my chalk paint out and just kind of like build up my layers here. And I love allowing my previous layers to show through, like right to the end, because it just gives it so much depth and character. And I'm going to get some of my Liquitex ink here. Now, a lot of times I don't plan out a color palette or anything like that at this point, because all I'm doing is I'm just building up my pages. Now, sometimes, like with this art journal over here, I have a lot of grays that just kind of showed up, and I'm not sure how or why that happened. I did not plan it, but I don't know, like it's a very neutral palette, but I'm not really, like, I mean, this has a lot more color, but it still has a lot of grays. So I'm not really sure. I don't plan out a color palette at this, you know, stage, because all I'm thinking about is putting like adding layers and building up my page. And who knows how many more layers I can add to this page, because it's cardboard. It can take, you know, however many layers you want to put on, pretty much. And so I'm just kind of building up my page, and, you know, I'm really loving all this writing and these marks, and I hope that I can save that to my end stages. And so I will work on this page over here, and I'm going to try out a different color here. So this is my chalk paint and ink, which is kind of the equivalent of Payne's Gray. And I love mixing this with my burnt sienna as well, because it just gives it so much depth. So I'm just going to drip that over here. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of this chalk paint here. And look at that. Do you see how much depth and interest that gives you? And because it's really watery, it's still transparent, so I can still see the previous layer. And this is just such a relaxing, meditative experience because I'm not thinking about an image or a color palette or anything. I'm just delighting in the beauty of the, the text and the patterns and the colors. And I just absolutely love doing this. And so with paint, I can completely, I can like put I don't even have to use a big clothespin. I can kind of like use a smaller one because if the paint smudges, I'm not really concerned about that. Another thing I wanted to mention is that, see, when I add my collage, I have a lot of creases on my page, and I don't know if the camera can pick up on that. And I don't mind those creases. I actually welcome them, and I love the texture and the interest it provides to my page. But some people, they don't want the creases. So I would recommend you use an expired credit card you might have, and then you can, when you're applying your collage, you can get all the air bubbles out. And so I'm just kind of building up my page here. And even though, so much of this is, probably going to get covered up as I work on these pages and add images, etc., all of this just provides so much interest, and I know that it's there. Like, even if it gets covered up, I know that it's there. But, I try to let like previous layers show through, so it just gives a lot of depth to the images that are on the page. And, because this is mixed media, I mean, you can add a whole bunch of things. You can add like your Stabilo pencil and just kind of have fun. Like, it doesn't have to be serious or like thought out. This is all about just building up your layers. So see now, because all the glue has completely dried on these pages, I can now work on multiple pages more so in these beginning layers because me personally, I'm not worried about, say, the paint from this page going onto there. I actually welcome all those things because I just think it adds so much interest, and it just makes the page so much richer. And because there are no images on the page, I'm not worried about anything smudging or anything like that. So once you get through the glue part and adding all the collage and allowing all of that to dry, you have a lot more leeway in the way you work, especially in these early layers of paint. And then I just keep on building up my pages, and I just, I can just keep on going and add like all sorts of different things. And this works out perfectly for when you have short periods of time as well, because just say you have 15 minutes you know, before you have to go do something. Well, if I have this on my art table, I can just come in here and just, you know, work on it for 15 minutes and then go off and do my whatever I need to do. And then when I come back, it's all completely dry. So you can really work in it any way you want. And you have so much freedom and leeway. So, anyways, I hope that this has been informative, and thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.